Okay, good evening, everybody. It's 6 o'clock. I'd like to call this meeting to order. We'll begin with an invocation led by Councilmember Fugit, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilmember McKenzie. Please rise as you're able.
Bow our heads. O Holy One, we come to you tonight in a city that is wonderful, exciting things happening, and we still have our struggles. Please be with us as we balance those two needs and help us help all who need help. Give us the patience and heart to do the hard work. May we remember that the decisions we make affect many lives, and keep us ever mindful of listening to one another to come to the best solutions for all the citizens of our city. Amen.
Let's face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United
States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Mr. Johnson, would you please call roll?
Councilmember Fugit.
Here.
Councilwoman Helsley. Councilwoman McKenzie.
Here.
Councilwoman Parker. Councilwoman Ryder. Here. Councilman Roberto.
Here.
Councilwoman Singh. Vice Mayor Smith.
Here.
And Councilman Thomas. 8 members present, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion on the minutes from our last meeting?
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Our item 5, are there any items to be withdrawn? Are there any items for postponement? Council Member Ryder?
Yes, I'd like to postpone items 12I, 12K, I'm sorry, 12J and 12K. Challenged by the alphabet.
To what date?
Oh, 2 weeks,
Okay.
26th. Thank you.
Okay. Motion's been made to postpone items 12I, J, and K for 2 weeks. Is there a second? Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Vice Mayor Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to make a motion to postpone item 12M for 2 weeks to the 26th meeting as well. The neighborhood would like to meet with the developer and discuss the project, and they haven't had a chance to do that.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, motion made to postpone item 12M for 2 weeks has been made and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Any other items to be postponed? Any items requested to be added by motion? Is there a motion on the consent agenda? Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, moving on to Mayor's report. I will try to keep it brief, but I've got a couple things I want to talk about. I know we have a lot of things on the agenda, although just got a little shorter. First, I see that we have several members of our Knoxville Fire Department here, and I want to publicly thank them for not just their everyday work, 24/7, 365, but in particular, we had quite a significant fire at Knoxville College last week, and they did a great job putting it out, and thankfully no residents or firefighters were hurt. So let's have a round of applause for our firefighters. Thank you. I also want to publicly congratulate CAC on 60 years of serving our community. I appreciate those of you who were able to come by the celebration last week. CAC for 60 years has been changing lives through food and utility assistance, services through the Office on Aging, mobile meals, Head Start programs, tax preparation, and so much more. We are incredibly grateful for all the work they do in our community, and I was honored to be part of the celebration last week. I also wanted to remind council members to mark your calendars as we get ready to celebrate the new Welcome Center at the Sun Sphere. Visit Knoxville has done an amazing job on this project, and we are so excited to get inside. Visit Knoxville is calling this event Coffee and Clydesdales, which is pretty unique. I'm sure you can imagine that means that we're going to welcome the Clydesdales back to World's Fair Park, just like in the 1982 World's Fair. And so should be a unique and fun celebration next Wednesday, November 20th, 9 to 11 a.m. I hope you all can come by. And now our rules of decorum. I want to remind everybody that those who wish to speak either to a specific agenda item or during public forum should sign up with our city recorder before 4 p.m. Please do not use profanity, and when speaking to specific agenda items, please remember to stay on topic. Robert's Rules of Order state that remarks must be germane to the question ahead of the assembly. That is, statements must have bearing on whether the pending motion should be adopted. Those who fail to adhere to these rules may be ruled out of order and asked to step away from the podium. For those who are listening, please note you may not disrupt a public meeting from the audience. Those who do may be asked to leave. Thank you in advance for everyone's respect for these rules. And that concludes my report. Are there any reports of council members? Vice Mayor Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to wish Councilmember Roberto a happy birthday. Today's a big day for him. Won't go into details about what that day means in quantitative form, but we drew straws, and Councilmember Thomas volunteered to sing happy birthday for us. So, Councilmember, happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Any other announcements or reports from council? Okay. All right, seeing none, we'll move on to our first agenda item.
10A is a resolution approving the appeal by Jeremy Greenhouse on behalf of Liquid Environmental Solutions of the Board of Zoning Appeals decision to uphold the zoning administrator's determination that LES is not in compliance with Article 4, Section 2.3.2.B.3.K of the 2017 City of Knoxville zoning ordinance for a property located at 1307 Galway Street, thereby reversing the zoning administrator's determination, 6th District.
Okay, thank you. So as with appeals, we will follow the normal routine, which is first we will hear 3 people in favor of the appeal. They'll each have up to 5 minutes, and then 2 people signed up to speak in opposition to the appeal. They'll have each up to 5 minutes, and then there'll be an opportunity for a 2-minute rebuttal by the appellant. Okay, so first we'll start with Leah Heiser. If you could start by stating your name and address for the record, and the clock is up ahead so you can time your comments. Thank you. We'll get them from you. You don't have to use your 5 minutes for that. You can hand them to Mr. Johnson or Mr. Frost. You need to, I'm sorry, turn your light, the little button on. It says, and then when you see the red light, you'll know the mic is on. It's a right to the, you got it.
Is that working?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. So I'm going to direct you to, there's 3 stapled handouts. I'm going to direct you to the first one right now for my comments. My name is Leah Heiser, address 60 South 6th Street, Minneapolis, Minnesota, 55402. I am an attorney, and I was asked by LES to undertake a legal evaluation of the city's zoning decision as it applies to their Galway facility. I'd like to start by clarifying the question before the council. Much of the discussion to date, including in front of the zoning board, has conflated questions of air quality and zoning. These are 2 different legal regulatory frameworks. Air quality and odor are regulated by the Knox County Air Quality Management Board, or AQM. And AQM uses scientifically based evaluations and processes for those tests and evaluations of odor. The zoning board, by contrast, does not regulate odor and does not have the expertise or scientific background to evaluate odor issues. So here today, we are asking the city to look at the relevant criteria under its zoning ordinances. And legally speaking, as I see it, the city has 2 questions to answer. In 2017, did Knoxville find that LES's operations were allowable under its zoning ordinances? And the answer to that is yes. The second question is, does the city now, 7 years later, have a legal basis to suddenly demand that LES spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on a new building despite no change in its operations? And I would respectfully indicate to the council the answer is no. Looking at the handouts that I've provided you, the first page of that first handout shows the Knoxville ordinances that were existing in 2017 on the left side. And on the right side, it's a screenshot that we were provided showing the city's approval of LES's zoning permit at that time. What you can see is that LES was granted a permit as a processing facility in Zone I3. And at that time, LES explicitly told the city before it granted the zoning permit that it would be using both a building and external frac tanks on its site. The city knowingly granted the permit with that knowledge, and its decision was consistent with the uses allowed under the 2017 ordinances for that zone. As you can see on the left side in the ordinances, it expressly says that a business can use, in addition to its main building, accessory buildings, structures, and uses. The key is that they be subordinate in size and purpose. LES's frac tanks meet that definition. They are smaller in size. They are on the same lot. They are subordinate. They are used to store materials to keep them in a stable state while they wait processing inside the building. They are enclosed structures. They have walls, ceilings, floors. They are not open air. And these buildings are clearly accessory and were properly allowed under 2017 ordinances. I'll also note at the bottom of that page is a quote from the current IG zoning ordinances, and that shows that accessory buildings, including for storage, are still permitted in this particular zone under Knoxville's ordinances. If you turn to the second page, what you'll see is that LES has a legal right to continue with its approved use. Both Knoxville and the state recognize a property owner's constitutional right to continue a use. And here, LES built, invested, and operated for approximately 7 years in reliance on the city's approval, and it has a right to continue to do so. Finally, on the third page, I've laid out for you some of the law that applies to this term processing. When Mr. Ahrens drafted the city's new zoning position and demanded a building, he relied on the idea of processing, that the frac tanks were quote unquote processing to justify this new position. And he argues that that is what requires a building. What I've laid out for you is an explanation that this is incorrect as a matter of law. It's clear that the 2017 ordinances permit accessory buildings, permit storage, permit the uses that were known at the time, and Tennessee Supreme Court case law supports.
Thank you, Ms. Heiser.
position.
That's your 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Next person signed up to speak in favor of this appeal is Tom Hillstrom. Mr. Hillstrom, if you could come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and you will have up to 5 minutes to address council.
Thank you, Mayor and council people. My name is Tom Hillstrom. My address is 2059 Whistle Valley Road, New Tazewell, Tennessee, 37825. I am the Vice President of Treatment and Recovery for Liquid Environmental Solutions and oversee the safe operation of LES's 26 grease recovery facilities. I have been in operations management in the environmental services field for over 41 years, with a focus on servicing small to medium-sized businesses and providing solutions to waste management, primarily through recycling and waste reduction. I joined LES in May of 2019. Liquid Environmental Solutions was formed as a company about 20 years ago, and from its inception, its focus was on effective and environmentally responsible management of non-hazardous materials. In 2017, LES acquired the Knoxville facility on Galway Street. The operations that were at the site at that time were inadequate for the services that LES provided to the Knoxville community, and LES immediately invested in improved process equipment and a best available control technology odor abatement system. The primary operation at Galway Street is grease recycling. Grease recycling is an often overlooked but essential environmental service. Nearly every restaurant, convenience store, church, grocery chain, and sporting facility that provides food produces grease waste. If not captured and recycled, grease pollution can result in water contamination and damage to municipal plumbing and sewage systems. LES provides a scheduled service to ensure that the generated grease is collected and removed before this happens. For cities and municipalities across the United States, excessive grease in wastewater and sewage results in major problems for publicly owned treatment facilities, including treatment process interference and high maintenance costs. Knoxville requires the servicing of these grease traps and is consistent with Knoxville's historic commitment to recycling and environmental waste reduction. The LES Galway Street facility is currently the only facility in Knoxville that can manage these wastes and ensure compliance with the city's fats, oils, and greases regulatory obligations. And I've included in the package a letter from the KUB and also a letter from one of our major customers explaining what we do and how valuable it is. Now, LES acknowledges that grease recycling does involve some odor, but I want to highlight some of the initiatives that LES has undertaken since purchasing the Galway Street property. Upon the immediate purchase, the process was modified to conclude the addition of a BACT odor scrubber. The scrubber has been upgraded and improved, along with evaluating and sealing the process building and installing necessary fans to ensure a negative pressure to capture any odors that are generated during the process. LES has worked hard with the Knox County Air Quality Management Board to further evaluate the process, and as recently as November 2022, in cooperation with AQM, LES engaged an industry odor abatement expert to evaluate the current odor technology that's utilized at the site. LES received a finding from the expert that the equipment employed by LES was the best available control technology. In addition, the odor expert evaluated the outside operation at Galway Street, including the offloading and storage material in the outside tankage. Due to the nature of offloading and the fact that each storage tank was connected to the odor scrubber, they decided the outside operations were not contributing to the odor from the facility. Other improvements were made, including adding concrete containment to the storage tanks and improving the offloading screening process. Most recently, we have modified our processing hours of operation to reduce the potential for odors to our closest neighbors. Over the years, LES has worked also with the zoning department and Mr. Ahrens on a number of initiatives. When the concrete containment was installed in 2023, LES and the building department worked together to receive the necessary permits, and the concrete was installed specifically for the storage tanks that now are determined to require an enclosure. This was not even mentioned in any of the discussions regarding the building permits. After the concrete is installed, I was also personally asked by Mr. Ahrens to remove out-of-service equipment from the site to another facility at our own expense, and we did so. Recently, I met with Mr. Ahrens to discuss the zoning ordinance. During that meeting, it was clear that the primary issues was odors and not zoning. I told Mr. Ahrens that LES would commit to a self-directed program to improve the facility and the odors, including weekly power washing of the containment areas, repair of potholes, repair of any piping. We maintain weekly logs and repaint all of the facility tanks. I'm pleased to say that all of the commitments that LES made to Mr. Ahrens have been completed. And I'm even more pleased to let the council know that the initiatives that LES has completed in the last 4 months has shown significant improvements. The odor complaints, although not eliminated, have been reduced in half since that time. It's my hope that the council recognizes that LES has operated a facility that provides an essential service to the Knoxville community, and we are focused on continuously improving our operation, and our activities have shown that we are committed to responding to our neighbors, the regulatory bodies, and the city.
Thank you, Mr. Hillstrom.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Next up is John Britton. Mr. Britton? Please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and you'll have up to 5 minutes to address council.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. My name is John Britton. My address is 900 South K Street, Knoxville, Tennessee, 37902. I am attorney here in Knoxville, local counsel for LES in this matter. Two things were very evident to me as we started this matter. The first thing is that the city is trying to solve an odor problem with zoning law. That's what makes it such a difficult task for us tonight. The second thing is in order to do that, Mr. Ahrens seems to be straining to find a way to make this a zoning issue. During the course of this matter, I've met with Mr. Ahrens and Ms. McGrons, and Ms. McGrons and I have both worked hard to try to find some type of middle ground that would allow us to get this resolved tonight. But so far we've been unable to. During the first meeting, Mr. Ahrens admitted that odor was for the county to regulate and not for the city, but he felt compelled to interpret the city zoning code to determine that LES's compliance was not in compliance, even though they've been operating the same way for 7 years after they were approved. I asked how that could be possible, and he said that there was a representation by LES that all the work would be done in a building. That's a mischaracterization of what LES said, and you see in your materials, LES actually said at the time that all facets of the process take place in a building or in enclosed tanks that are fully contained. That was true then, and it's true now. And that's exactly what they've been doing for the last 7 years. But the result of the new interpretation by Mr. Ahrens is that LES is being told that the only acceptable result is for LES to build a building that's going to cost in excess of $300,000 to encompass the tanks in the offloading area. A building that Mr. Hillstrom has already pointed out will not do anything to solve the problem that Mr. Ahrens perceived as an odor problem. I suggested to Ms. McGrons that we try to find a way to reach a common ground, and she and I discussed back and forth something that would recognize the city's commitment to clean air and clean water, but at the same time allow LES to continue to do business. I've drafted a memorandum of agreement, submitted it to the city, and the response that I got back was that Mr. Ahrens still insisted that LES enclose all the tanks and loading areas in the building. At this point, we suggested a personal meeting with Ms. McGrons and Mr. Ahrens, and we had that meeting, and during that meeting, Mr. Hillstrom pointed out that the odors don't come from the offloading or the storage tanks. They come from the processing that's done inside the building. So requiring LES to construct a building would do absolutely nothing to solve the problem, and it would cost LES hundreds of thousands of dollars. So at the conclusion of the meeting, LES agreed to do the things that had been listed in the Memorandum of Understanding voluntarily, and also agreed to investigate the cost of building a building if it was determined later that one was necessary. LES expressed hope at the time that the complained of odor problem could be remediated by cleaning measures so that building a building would not be required. LES did exactly what they said they would do, and you have or should have in front of you the memorandum of agreement that was signed, I think, on October the 1st between the city and LES, showing what LES was committing to doing with hope that it would show improvement and that we wouldn't be required to build a building. LES immediately began doing the procedures that it said it would implement, and on October 21st, Mr. Hillstrom emailed Mr. Ahrens and said that he had been doing that and that he was very impressed with the new housekeeping program that LES had. He said that the tank forms were ready to be painted, which they've since been painted. He said that he inspected the property himself and drove around and could not detect any odors, which he thought was a very positive sign. He asked Mr. Ahrens in the email how Mr. Ahrens' odor panel that was going to be investigating for the city had what they had found, and he never received a response from Mr. Ahrens. So I contacted Ms. McGrons and asked for a Zoom call meeting between Mr. Hillstrom, Mr. Ahrens, Ms. McGrons, and myself, which happened on November the 7th of 2024. During that meeting, again, Mr. Ahrens admitted that our efforts had been making a difference, but said, in his opinion, quote, "It's just not there." So he said that at the time he had people going by 3 times a week, and so we asked, well, when did they go by and what did they find? We'd like to know so we can see how that compares with our records. We've never been provided with that information. At one point, Mr. Ahrens said that the county air quality people had been there while he was there, or while his people were there, and that the LES had failed the test. We've never received any notice of violation that's occurred during that time. So I don't know what the problem is, but what we're being told and what seems to be happening are not true. So we were very disturbed by that. And at that point, Mr. Ahrens said, well, actually, this is just a zoning interpretation anyway. So our question was, if that's true, why have we been having to go through all of this stuff with the zoning?
Thank you, Mr. Britton, your time's up.
Thank you.
Now, calling on the people who are speaking in opposition to this appeal, starting with Carol Underwood Wilson. If you could start by saying your name and address for the record, and you'll have up to 5 minutes.
Carol Underwood Wilson, 815 Cooper Road, Strawberry Plains. Council members, thank you for allowing us to speak to the matter at hand. I'm not an attorney. I just work in the area where this smell is. I'm literally 1 block away. This should be a simple decision to make. LES is not in compliance with their zoning and has not followed through with what they told the city that they would do 7 years ago to contain the odors produced by their operation. We're not asking for new laws, regulations, or agreements, only that they be required to comply with the ones already in place when they chose to start doing business here. This issue affects significantly more than 3 people, in spite of what their attorneys will try to convince you. I believe that, just as LES hoped, many of the residents surrounding this facility do not know how, where to, or that they even can complain about the odors emanating from Galway Street. For those of us that do, the way the complaints are taken, as we've repeatedly been told, is that 1 email counts for 1 complaint from 1 person. Council members, respectfully, I do not pay my employees to email air quality or the city government officials about odors. The fact that I cannot send 1 email to file a complaint on behalf of 10 of my employees, or that Pemberton cannot send one on behalf of 150 of their employees, is preposterous. Do they really want 160 plus emails every time that there's an odor? There are days that I walk my dog in the morning and the smell is breathtaking. However, when I get back in my office, I have my work to do. I have my job to do. I have customers to take care of and phones to answer. I'm very lucky that I don't smell it inside my office. But sometimes by the time I get back in and start my work, I forget to send the email. Just because there wasn't an email that day doesn't mean there wasn't a smell. This issue cost us hours due to illness from our employees, complaints from our customers, and it just makes running our business miserable. Consequently, as I said, just 2 emails represents 160 plus people, not just 2. It affects more people than they lead you to believe. I personally know someone who has been to and inside the LES facility in Nashville. It doesn't smell. It doesn't smell outside. Their neighbors don't complain. They have the knowledge and the ability how to stop the smell. They did it in Nashville. They did it in Winston-Salem. I believe Knoxville deserves the same respect that those cities do. Ladies and gentlemen, this has nothing to do with how many people have complained. This has to do with operating in business respectfully, healthfully, and being good neighbors. If this odor is not contained or eliminated, I can assure you that a good wind from the north is going to blow it right across that beautiful new stadium that you built, and nobody's going to be able to enjoy their hot dogs because it's going to smell like Lay's Packing House that used to be on that site is still operating. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you. Next person signed up to speak in opposition to this appeal is Tanner Jessel. Mr. Jessel, if you could start by stating your name and address for the record, and you'll have up to 5 minutes.
Tanner Jessel, residing at 1026 Olive Street in Knoxville since 2007. In 2015, a septic waste processor opened near my home. Processing happened inside a building for no more than 33,000 gallons of liquid waste, roughly 4 big tanker trucks of volume. There were no issues. The business sold in late 2016. The new owner unlawfully added outdoor steps to process 3 times the setup, 100,000 gallons of screened septic waste. Proven by operation, we now know the new owners did not truthfully disclose outdoor processing steps, offloading, sludge overboarding to totes, solids dewatering, phase separation in heated tanks that spill to the open air, contradicting claims that the tanks are sealed. My community knows how to fight, and we will until all steps are inside the building. Multiple steps are exposed to open air. Please note when our lawyer friends focus on heated tanks only. Our lawyer friends argue it's not that bad. Even if it is bad, it impacts 3 people. Even if more people are impacted, the zoning allows it. My friends, the only zoning permitting noxious odor trespass in 2016 was the I-4 heavy industrial zone. Prime examples of the zone were KUB's wastewater treatment plant on Nayland Drive and Knoxville's own solid waste transfer facility. Heavy industry was the only zone in Knoxville permitting, and I quote, uses which may be obnoxious or offensive by reason of emission of odor, dust, smoke, gas, noise, vibration, and the like, and not allowed in any other district. This company has proven they cannot comply with the 2017 I-3 zoning code, which dictates uses in this section shall be conducted in a manner that no obnoxious odor, fumes, or dust will be emitted beyond the property line of the lot on which the use is located. Note the 2017 I-3 zone also prohibited disposal plants of all types, including trash and garbage and sewage plants, and all uses or structures not of a nature specifically permitted herein, and any use not conforming to the performance standards set forth in Article 5, Section 1. To comply with Knoxville's rules, the company complains it must spend $300,000. This company spent $170,000 in Winston-Salem, North Carolina for the same problem. March 1st, 2018, the company's regional processing manager wrote air quality regulators in North Carolina. LES recognizes, quoting, the process building, although a major source of odors, was not the sole source of odor generation at the facility, and as such has been working all along in parallel with an architectural design build firm to improve the odor control facility's outdoor processing activities. Final design includes a totally enclosed truck offloading area with an additional scrubbing system, along with 3-sided enclosed shelter for the roll-off boxes used to hold solids, protecting them against dispersal of odors from the wind. The letter boasted, when all of these odor control measures are completed, this facility will have the most robust odor control capabilities of any grease processing facility owned and operated by Liquid Environmental Solutions. In May this year, new regional manager Greg Skinner appeared at this podium to appeal a $21,000 air quality fine. An air board member posed a question. Would you agree that being located in a residential area might require a little bit more in terms of abatement for odors for the surrounding residents? The director replied, of course. I mean, we've done all asked of us to this point. All asked of us. Mr. Skinner failed to disclose city regulators asked the company 6 months prior to fully enclose the facility, as done in Winston-Salem at 750 Palmer Lane. Please affirm the zoning director's finding all outdoor steps must take place in a building. My neighbors and I deserve clean air, the same as Nashville, Winston-Salem, and Austin, where this company has fully enclosed their operations. I have some photos. Happy to share any of these. This is Nashville. This is Winston-Salem, fully enclosed. I have affidavits from neighbors. I don't have lawyers, but I have my neighbors, if any of you want to be known. And I have signed and notarized affidavits from the neighbors who cannot be here tonight to fight this out-of-state corporate bully. Please affirm Director Aaron's determination.
Thank you. If you want to bring those to City Recorder, he'll make sure council can see them. I guess pass them around. I don't know. Okay, thank you. The appellant now has the opportunity for a 2-minute rebuttal. Is there someone who wishes to make a rebuttal on behalf of the appellant? Okay. Okay, Mr. Hillstrom, you don't have to re-identify yourself. You can just go.
The two facilities that were represented, Nashville is just a transfer facility. It's not a processing facility, so it's a different operation. The one in Winston-Salem, very similar to what we do in Knoxville. The tanks are not in the facility under enclosed. It's the same technology. In fact, the same odor experts that we used in Winston-Salem were used in Knoxville to develop the best available control technology that we use today. So the systems that we have were built in concert, so it's the same company that did the two. So just want to add that.
Okay, council members, that concludes the people who will speak on this, unless you have questions for people in the audience. Mr. Ahrens is here to answer your questions if you have any. Council Member Ryder. Or Council Member McKenzie, maybe you were first. Which you want me to? Okay. Councilmember Ryder?
I'd like to call Mr. Ahrens to the podium. So in our zoning code, it is the following uses are allowed in the I-3 general industrial district when conducted within a completely enclosed building. So my question to you is, in regards to the zoning, is the processing facility completely enclosed?
No. Peter Ahrens, Director of Plans Review and Building Inspections. The answer is no.
Okay. Mr. Frost, and that is what is before us for this appeal. Is it enclosed or is it not?
Well, that's part of it, and whether or not Mr. Aaron's made a correct interpretation.
Okay, Mr. Ahrens, your interpretation and your visual inspection by you and your staff, it is not enclosed, and the ask is for it to be enclosed. Is that correct?
That's correct. Can I add a little context?
Most certainly.
Okay. When this came in for review back in 2017, it was initially turned down because it was not in a completely enclosed building. That's when LES provided a letter that says everything that we do will be located inside a building or completely enclosed tanks. The purpose of my inspection back in December was to look to see if it was fully enclosed. And when I walk away and I see CMU walls for containment of product, that tells me that that is not in an enclosed building. It's kind of that simple.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Excuse me. Councilmember McKenzie?
Thank you. So, Mr. Aaron's, so I'm not sure if you saw this packet that we were presented with. It has pictures. And my assumption is that we're looking at pictures from the facility. Have you seen these?
Okay.
So the
Yes.
pictures that are on the back, so these are the outdoor containers for processing that would, the requirement would be for them to be enclosed, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Councilmember Roberto?
Thank you, Mayor. Director Ahrens, can you talk to us about the zoning history here and give some discussion as well to the difference between the zoning and the odor issue?
It's my understanding, based on my reading of the 2017 edition of the zoning code, Mr. Jessel quoted it for you. At the end of, there are uses that are permitted by right. There are uses that are permitted when conducted completely within an enclosed building, and they've got A through K, plus several others. But at the end of that section, it says, the uses in this section shall be conducted in such a manner that no noxious odor, fumes, or dust will be emitted beyond the property line of the lot on which the use is located. So I'm not a odor expert, but that tells me that the intent behind the requirement to be completely enclosed was to contain the odors, not necessarily to address the odors once they're outside, but to contain them.
Has there been a history of zoning changes, or has there been a history of, I guess, can you tell us about the history of the zoning itself? I know you just told us the relationship between the zoning and the odor issue, but is there a history here with regard to the zoning?
So, like I was telling Councilwoman Ryder, we initially turned it down, but then we listened to their experts, and they said it was completely enclosed. And so, if it's completely enclosed, there's no opportunity for anything to come outside of these enclosed facilities, equipment. That obviously isn't the case. That's why there's the change in my determination on zoning compliance.
Okay. And I know you mentioned that you're not an odor expert, and the city doesn't get involved in odor issues. That's a county issue, right?
Yes.
Is there somebody here who can talk to us about odors?
I believe there is.
Who's here that can talk to us about odors?
Joshua, Justin.
Hi, my name is Justin Meyer. I'm the Director for Air Quality Management in Knox County. What can I tell you?
So you've heard the discussion, that
Yes, sir, I have.
we're having. Tell us about air quality and odor issues as relates to this use.
Okay, so in my world, I'm going to give you three definitions real quick so we can start on a level playing field. Air quality management in Knox County defines any air contaminant as particulate matter, dust, fumes, gas, mist, smoke, vapor, or odor, or combination thereof. And then we have to get into process emissions. It's any emission of an air contaminant to the ambient air. Ambient air is anything anybody can breathe. So that is off property line. So take for consideration, up by my office, Holston Gases has a fence around it. Inside the fence is not ambient air because legally I can't go there. Now, the part that applies to where we are right now. Process emission source, as defined in my definitions for Knox County Air Quality Management, shall mean one or more units of processing equipment which may be operated independently of other parts of the operations at any given manufacturing or processing facility. And here's the part that I want to get to. Also, where it is common practice to group more than one unit of like or similar processing equipment together and to apply a single or combined unit of air pollution control equipment to the emissions of the entire group. Such group of units shall be construed as a process emissions source. As has been stated, their outside tanks are connected to their air pollution control equipment, which by our definition makes them process equipment. Also, in their own submittal to my office, the water and grease that passes through screens is pumped either to 3 tanks, which are 20,000 gallon heated tanks for processing. Processing tanks, T1, T2, and T3, are used for the first stage of grease-water separation. These tanks are heated with internal heat coils to facilitate the phase separation process. So to say they're storage tanks, in my world, they are not. So that is why zoning has come in my opinion. When we talk about odors, I will concede that they have gotten better. I will also say that they have gotten better for the local people immediately surrounding them. Our complaints no longer come from the immediate people. They come from these people right here, across interstate in Park Ridge. And I can tell you we had a complaint this morning at 4:15 a.m. that it was bad. By the time we got to work, my inspector went out and they did violate our odor standard this morning. And they will be getting a notice of violation sent to them and a pending administrative order. So I can explain odors if you want, give you more information. What else would you like to know?
Well, I'm out of time, so I'll have to let my colleagues continue the line of questioning at this point, but I appreciate you coming up and talking to us about odors.
Just the law director wants to give counsel some counsel.
I just want you all to understand and be sure that we're clear about this, that you all are not responsible for enforcing the Knox County codes related to odors and emission of odors and things of that nature. You are charged with enforcing the zoning code. And so when you make your decision based on the zoning code itself and whether or not this is the correct interpretation, but not on what the codes of Knox County say with regard to noxious odors.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Smith?
Thank you, Mayor. I guess this is a question, it's an important instruction from Mr. Swanson, but the ball bounces back and forth in terms of Mr. Aaron's oversight and its relation to your expertise, which I missed your name. Can you repeat it again?
What?
Your name?
Justin Mayer.
Mayor, okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess I'll start with Mr. Aaron's. What happens when a processing facility is enclosed but still emits noxious odors?
We would rely on Knox County to help us make that determination.
Mr. Mayor, as you were.
Yes,
Can
sir.
you help me understand this? So it seems like the zoning code requires enclosure
Yes.
for a relevant processing machine, fill in the blank. What happens then if there's still emissions that are smelled across the interstate?
Then we do our inspections like we continue to do now, and we work with the facility to try and mitigate that. And typically when you enclose it, if you read the documentation provided by their expert of the particular emission source that they have and the scrubber that they have, it is sized and it is almost to capacity. So then they would have to increase the capacity of their scrubber to lower the emission of odors.
Okay, so there are subsequent steps that a facility may be required to do.
Correct.
After the city's ordinances require enclosure.
It is possible.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Councilmember Ryder.
You can.
Councilmember Fugit, I guess, since you haven't
Thank
spoken
you.
yet. Go ahead. Sure.
Okay, Mr. Swanson, I just want to make sure I'm really clear on what I'm voting on, because I think all this is interesting, but I think I don't want us to overstep our authority and get things confused for the record. So if I understand correctly, and Mr. Aaron, somebody else can jump in, we are to decide whether this is a processing operation that should be enclosed to be in compliance with the zoning
Right.
code.
You are deciding whether what is happening out there is a violation of the zoning code, and whether or not Mr. Aarons has correctly interpreted the words of the zoning code to require, as he says, a full enclosure of this process.
Okay, and Mr. Aaron, say for me again, one more time, what you deemed was the violation that makes it not be, or not comply with the zoning code.
Their processing facility is not located completely within an enclosed building.
So thank you. So that was sort of my point. We're deciding, did you correctly interpret that it was a processing facility, and a processing facility must be enclosed in order to be in compliance with our current zoning order?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Councilmember McKenzie or Ryder? Okay, you guys, I don't know who had
We're going to arm wrestle for it.
I'll get out.
Mr. Mayor, I actually have a question for you because you were describing something, because I think Mr. Aarons has already answered a similar question. You were answering a question about odors. I'm not going to ask about odors because that's not what we're voting on,
Okay.
but appreciate the info. You were describing what they've described as storage tanks, and you were talking about what the storage tanks are attached to. Could you touch on that again?
Okay, so they have a scrubbing system that is supposed to remove odors from the air. Their tanks have ductwork that suck the atmosphere out of the tank and run it through their scrubbing system. That is their air pollution control equipment. Once those are connected to air pollution control equipment, they are considered part of the process.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So the debate is how Mr. Aarons describes what is part of the processing facility, and you've helped clarify that. I appreciate the observation. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember McKenzie?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Swanson, for keeping us on track, because we know that air quality and the odor is really not the issue here that we're voting on. And so after listening to the speakers and careful consideration, I believe that the correct interpretation was made by Mr. Aarons, and I want to move to deny the appeal.
Motion made to deny the appeal's been made and seconded. Any further questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of this denial, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion to deny this appeal carries 8-0. Do we need to do anything else or to deny? Okay. Okay. Next item, please.
11A is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute any and all documents necessary to apply for and, if awarded, accept a grant donation in the amount of $2,000 from the AJC Project Interchange to award said amount to Knoxville Jewish Day School Violins of Hope program.
Second.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Councilmember Ryder?
Yeah, I just didn't know if there was anybody here from the program or if anybody could give a very minute-long synopsis?
Yeah, I believe there's someone here from the KJDS school. If you could just state your name and address for the record, and you can address council, explain the purpose of this grant.
Sure. My name is Sari Kagan. My address is 9805 St. Germain Drive in Knoxville.
Who does it reach? How many students are reached, the program?
So there's actually 3 arms to the project, and the first arm is the exhibition, which will be on Gay Street, and we expect that to reach anywhere from 5,000 to 7,000 people. It will be open probably 6 days a week, varying hours, and the exhibition to walk through and to see the violins is, there's no charge for that. The education arm, we already have approval to go into the Knox County middle and high schools, and we have commitment from violin players from the KSO, the Knoxville Symphony Orchestra, who will take the violins, and there is a education component. We will have educators there as well as the musicians, and they will have programs talking about where these violins came from, how they were used, and then playing them for the students. And we expect that to reach about 5,000 students.
Okay. And then just last question, when's the exhibit happening?
The exhibit will open it's actually March 3rd will be the grand opening, and it runs through April 9th.
Okay. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kagan. I'll just add that this exhibit came to Knoxville back in 2019, I believe. I think that's when it was.
Yes, it was.
Anyhow, I had the opportunity to attend the exhibit at that time. It was very well done and moving, and I'm glad that we'll hopefully be able to bring it back in March. Any other questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Thank you.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
10B is a resolution authorizing the mayor to accept the proposal from Berkshire Hathaway Specialty Insurance Company for stop-loss insurance for the city's self-insured medical plan and prescription drug plan for an estimated annual premium of $785,942.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussions? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
11C is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement to allow a proposed canopy encroachment into a public right-of-way at 2001 Cumberland Avenue, 1st District.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussions? Seeing none, all those in favor. Oh, Councilmember Ryder, excuse me.
I'm just going to ask a quick question of engineering. Mr. Clabo, this is just like an air encroachment.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay.
The canopy's like 15 feet above.
Okay. So it's like an air rights approval. All right, thanks.
Any other questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
11D is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement to allow a proposed canopy encroachment into a public right-of-way at 1915 Cumberland Avenue, 1st District.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
11E is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into, to execute an agreement with Moore Construction Company Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $717,305 for the CIPP 4 Phase 2 Stormwater Infrastructure Rehabilitation Project funded by the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation Non-Competitive American Rescue Plan Act grant.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
11F is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with BioSolutions Tennessee in an amount not to exceed $500,000 to provide creek riparian cleanup and maintenance services for the Knoxville Urban Creek Cleanup Project funded by the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation Non-Competitive American Rescue Plan Act grant.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussions? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
11G is a resolution authorizing the mayor to amend the contract with Henley Roofing Company for the Dr. E.V. Davidson Community Center re-roof and HVAC upgrades project, increasing the contract amount by $16,756 for a new contract total of $750,000, or $756, and extending the date of completion.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Council, I just want to, you don't need reminding, but I'm very proud of our efforts to continually maintain and update our community centers across the city, excuse me. Last time we talked about Cecil Webb. We've done Milton Roberts. I know Cal Johnson, they're about to complete the sidewalks down to the basketball courts down below, and E.V. Davidson is also getting some improvements, $750,000. This contract will allow renovations that will include roof repairs, new insulation, and new rooftop HVAC. And this change order will eliminate the center drains, which had caused leaks and other issues inside the center for years. So thank you for your favorable consideration. Any other questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
11H is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute all documents on behalf of the city of Knoxville necessary to acquire property for the Boyd's Bridge Pike Sidewalk Improvements Project by negotiated purchase or by condemnation if necessary within 13 tracts of real property for a total amounts not to exceed $125,000.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
11I is a resolution affirming Knox County's provision of emergency ambulance services within the municipal limits of the city of Knoxville in accordance with Tennessee Code Annotated Section 7-61-102D.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none. Oh, Chief Sharp. Oh, okay. Did you? Okay. Chief Sharp's available if we have any questions, but I think, Councilmember Ryder.
Yeah. Chief Sharp, I don't recall voting on this in the past. Is this something, or have we, and I just don't remember?
Yeah, this is new because this is basically a housekeeping measure. The state requires whenever a municipality puts an ambulance in service that they affirm that the county is operating the ambulance service. As you may be aware, we have a special operations ambulance that we've been able to purchase that we're going to be able to deploy to fire scenes and other large-scale scenes to help protect our firefighters. And so that's what this measure is just about, is to allow us to put that into service.
So we are putting the ambulance into service, but it's going to be operated by someone else?
No. It's just a special operations ambulance that we will deploy to our fire scenes because that way we know that we've always got an ambulance on these large scale scenes in order to take care of our firefighters. So that's what it's about.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Councilmember Fugit.
Thank you. Chief Sharp, I imagine also it is to avoid taking one out of rotation for the general welfare of the rest of the county.
That's correct.
Yes, it helps our firefighters, but we aren't tying up an ambulance when we know ambulance service is always busy.
Yes.
And we're not taking one out of the rotation. And I assume this is just to be clear that the city is not getting ready to start an ambulance service, that we are affirming the county handles ambulance services for Knox County. This is just for fire.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
11J is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute any and all documents necessary to effectuate an amendment to agreement number C-22-0552 with Samsara Incorporated to increase the contract price by an amount not to exceed $22,054 to provide additional automotive vehicle location technology to include fire apparatus and 40 additional miscellaneous fleet assets for a new total annual contract price not to exceed $143,469.72.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Councilmember Ryder.
Yeah, so I don't know if Mr. Bradshaw or if Chief Sharp answers this, but this is basically GPS for fire equipment.
Chief
Mr.
Sharp?
Bradshaw, I don't know,
And
Mr.
Bradshaw?
Chief Sharp, yeah, whoever.
Chief Sharp or Mr.
Y'all can
Bradshaw?
collaborate.
Go ahead, Mr. Bradshaw, go ahead.
It's not just for fire, but yeah, a big part of it's for fire.
And is it cameras? It's more than just the locator, or?
There, yeah. Well, there's AVL is just a module. It does GPS data tracking. The firefighters have a more advanced version of AVL with a camera on it. So we're talking about 43 of the more premium cameraed AVLs. Those are going on the fire apparatus, and then an additional 40 standard AVLs, which are for some miscellaneous general government vehicles.
Okay, and this helps us not just know where they are, but helps us better manage the assets.
Yeah, a lot of diagnostic data, performance data, a lot of safety, speed alerts, crash alerts, a lot of telematics data. Mm-hmm.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
Any other questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
11K is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an amendment to agreement number C-23-0309 with SPATCO Energy Solutions, LLC, to increase the contract price by $76,076.18 for a new total contract not to exceed $439,639.24 to cover the additional required work on the removal and disposal of fuel tanks located at 3409 Vice Mayor Jack Sharp Road.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Ms. Ryder? No? Okay, just check. I'm just teasing.
No, I'll just elaborate. Sometimes I might be the nerd in the room, but I go back and I watch old council meetings to, especially, not all the time. I don't want you guys to think that's what I'm doing. But if I have to go back and see something and then there's zero discussion, there's no context, you have no idea, and all you have is the packet to go for. And also we have members of the community that want to know what we're doing. So
No, it's good.
Sorry.
No.
My
apology needed.
predecessor
You're
said
doing
you're
your
supposed to ask questions on every single agenda item. So I'm sparing y'all a little bit.
Okay. Any other, Vice Mayor Smith?
I'm Ryder that he's not here right now. And I'd like to say his predecessor did not tell him to do that.
Okay. Any further questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
11L is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with the University of Tennessee College of Social Work to support a coordinated entry system for standardized intake, assessment, and referral for use by local service providers of shelter and housing programs as a resource for individuals and families seeking assistance, shelter, and housing in the Knoxville community in an amount not to exceed $90,452.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Council members, the next 4 items are all about our efforts to increase the supply of affordable housing and to end and prevent homelessness. As you know, hopefully you're as proud as I am of the efforts we've made, but we must continue to look for ways to enhance this work because this issues are persistent. So just wanted to let you know that Mr. DuBose and Aaron Reed are both here to answer any questions you have about this or the next 3 items after it. Any question, Councilmember Fugit?
Thank you. Ms. Reed, you explained to us at our dinner a little bit about what this system is, but would you, for the larger community, explain what this system is going to do for us?
Sure. Thank you very much. Aaron Reed. I don't actually live in the city. So coordinated entry is really the foundation of a homeless services system. And the coordinated entry system is a centralized database where homeless service providers input client level information. And then ideally, when they want to slot clients into various services, they have a vulnerability score so that they know what services that client is eligible for, and they collaborate to ensure that they're serving the most vulnerable first. So it's really the foundation of a homeless services system.
Thank you. I just think it's very important that people understand we're really, since the creation of your office, it is really about trying to help the most people the fastest way we can, and that is through coordination. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Ryder.
Yeah, Ms. Reed, don't go far. Just quick questions, because as Councilwoman Fugit just said, you did meet with us. For those who don't know, we had a meeting prior to this, and Ms. Reed gave us an update on some of our homeless services and how we are working to try and mitigate the increase of homelessness. For clarity, coordinated entry system is required, correct, for some of the funding we get?
I probably should have led with that. Yes, it is.
Okay. Just wanted, because so we would not get many of the federal dollars that we get if we didn't have a coordinated entry system.
That's absolutely true.
Okay. That is important to know. And so the coordinated entry system, I think what I heard you explain a minute ago is it helps identify with these the vulnerability scores, who is most vulnerable and who needs, and it helps match to what services, correct? Okay. And then all of the service providers are participating and entering into the coordinated entry system, is that correct?
In terms of the large providers, yes. There are some smaller providers that we're trying to bring into the fold.
Like small missions and stuff are not doing it, but we would like for everyone to do it.
We would.
So we have a full picture.
Correct. And there are some improvements that we could make in terms of how the large providers are entering data and how it's being used. There's really a lot of room for growth here.
Okay. And Ms. Reed, we have multiple, 4 things, I believe the mayor said on this agenda item. I think one of the takeaway messages that I think that is important for the public to hear that you brought up in our dinner conversation was how valuable the permanent supportive housing has been. Is that kind of one of our biggest services that has made a dent in our homeless population and decreasing chronic homelessness?
Absolutely. So permanent supportive housing is going to be an intervention for people who've been homeless longer than a year, who have a disabling condition. We have a growing population who meet those criteria. If you look across time, you see that that population drops every time we open a permanent supportive housing facility. We have a new facility, Callahan Flats, that will open next summer, and I do anticipate a drop in our chronic homeless population as a result.
Okay. And then tying it to this agenda item, the coordinated entry system data is how we identify folks and match those to the permanent supportive housing. Is that
Yes.
okay.
Thank you so much. You're really teeing this up exactly, exactly how I would do
I'm
it.
processing it at the same time, but okay.
But yeah, so permanent supportive housing units are allocated through the coordinated entry system. So providers do vulnerability assessments, and then once a week, providers, case managers meet. They go down a by name list and they say, okay, well, this person's vulnerability score is very high. Are they ready to move into housing? If the answer is yes, and there's an available permanent supportive housing unit, they start that process of moving them in.
All right. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no further questions, we'll go ahead and vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
11M is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with the University of Tennessee College of Social Work to provide for enhanced Knox HMIS support of the Knoxville, Knox County Office of Housing Stability in an amount not to exceed $36,000.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
11N is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with Knoxville's Community Development Corporation regarding the disbursement of American Rescue Plan Act grant coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds in an amount not to exceed $2,273,351.77 to support the acquisition and development of affordable housing within the city of Knoxville.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Councilmember Ryder?
Yeah, so I guess Mr. DeBose or whoever
Yes, Mr.
would
DeBose.
like to answer this. Oh, yes, you know, I can't see you.
He's there.
So what particularly, this one is to support acquisition and development of, is it specific units? Tell us what these funds are going to be used for.
Yes, Kevin DeBose, Department of Housing and Neighborhood Development. We promised during the budget season that we would use the remaining ARPA money for affordable housing. And this total represents what is left over. We also talked about providing a mechanism to acquire commercial properties along corridors to assemble for affordable housing. And we were going to use this ARPA money as a template. And so what this money will be used for is to purchase some property in the downtown area, you know, a couple parcels that are commercially zoned that have some constraints, and KCDC will do the site assembly, deal with some of the issues to get it, you know, pad ready, and then we hope to provide an affordable housing development soon thereafter.
So those would be affordable and/or workforce units?
Yeah, so this particular project would be our primary affordable housing development strategy, which, you know, benefits mainly those who are, you know, what is considered very low or low income, you know, persons 60% of the median and below. The apartments would be based on, you know, their income. They would pay, you know, up to like 29 or 30% of their income for housing. And, you know, it will have some project-based vouchers associated with it. So it would add to our mix of downtown housing in terms of getting that affordable and some workforce housing units added. You know, hopefully this will be a very sizable development, and will just add to the growing need, or add to the demand for housing there, sort of satisfy the demand, I mean.
Okay, and so this sum is not to actually complete the units, it's just for acquisition of property?
No, it would be heavily layered. There would be lots of source of funding, including, you know, the public-private partnership would be part of that as well. So it will have lots of sources in order to get this off. But we need to acquire the land. You know, the land is very expensive.
Okay, I appreciate the explanation.
Councilmember Thomas.
Yes, just words of applause, I would say, for this approach. And it's something that we talked about over a period of time, about being proactive in acquiring property that hadn't earlier been available for housing and along the corridors or in the downtown area. So kudos to you, and just let us know how we can help. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Roberto.
Thank you, Mayor. Director DeBose, I think this is a critical element that you're talking about here, using these funds to find property along the corridors where we have a good amount of access to public, you know, infrastructure, and then to kind of use that as a catalyst to pushing out additional housing. We also need to make sure while we're doing that, we couple that with making sure that we activate the private sector to be doing the same thing, especially in those areas. So I can't say enough about how enthusiastic I am about using these funds for this purpose. We need more housing, we need supply, and we need to make sure we place it in a place where you know, we can actually build the kind of supply we need. So I think you're right on target here, but I also want to encourage you to make sure you're trying to do as much as you can to activate the private sector, because what we can do in the public sector is not nearly as much as what the private sector can do if we make sure they're informed about the incentive programs that exist out there and really start pushing that. So I just want to applaud you and ask that we make sure we're trying to engage the private sector in this as well.
And I should mention, we will have a private developer as part of this as well.
Councilmember Thomas.
Yeah, maybe just stating the obvious, but these two approaches aren't exclusive at all. In fact, they're in tandem.
Very true.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
11O is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute any and all documents necessary to award an amount not to exceed $1,440,000 from the Affordable Rental Development Fund to the Village at Inskip GP LLC for the development of 48 affordable rental housing units to be located at 520 Inskip Village Way, as more specifically described herein.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Councilmember Ryder.
Yeah, I know this is in Councilman Thomas's district. Are these new from the ground units, or is this a refurb of something existing? I'm not familiar with the project, so I don't know if someone wants to
Mr.
tell us what the
DeBose, and
project is. Mr.
Developers
DeBose?
here too, but
Yeah, this is brand new construction, and John Huber from Hopeful Housing is here and can give more detail about what they're planning.
Mr. Huber, if you could let us know your name and address for the record, and then share with council your plans for this affordable housing development.
Happy to. John Huber, 213 Fox Road, Hopeful Housing in Knoxville, Tennessee. And I think that was the perfect segue going from, talking about Kevin's office and moving into the private sector, which is where I am. But do want to thank Kevin's office and the city of Knoxville for the $1.44 million grant. This is going to be a 100% affordable complex. It's going to be in 3 buildings. It has a total of 98 units. Now, the 1.44 million is tied to 48 of those 98 units, but we're actually going to build 98. Again, they're all going to be 100% affordable, targeting anyone with 60% area median income or below. So that's really where we're going with that. It's financed with THDA, low-income housing tax credits, the gap funding that you guys are providing. We do have project-based vouchers from KCDC as well. We have a pilot from the IDB, and the HEB has provided the bonds. So this has been a long time coming, and we're excited about keeping it going. We're just trying to get a few things worked out in the end. But it's going to be a nice place. The amenities is directly across the street from a public park currently. We'll have a community center, a dog park, a playground, computer stations with free internet in the community center, and also a workout facility. So we're really trying to build it like a Class A, but with all of the subsidies, we'll be able to keep the rents down and affordable for everybody under 60% AMI.
And last question, what is your time frame?
Well, we hope to try to close by the end of the year, and if not, maybe first quarter of next year.
And
construction.
And construction.
Yeah. When can people move in?
Yeah, when would you ideally have
Well,
occupants?
That'll probably be 18 months after that. So I'd say in mid-2026, late 2026.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Huber. I'm really grateful for our gap financing program. Your description just now just is a good reminder that the cost of building housing is the same, whether you're doing it for market rate or affordable. So our gap financing is one of many elements that makes it affordable for private entities to invest and still make the financing work. So I really appreciate your investment in this. It's very important to our community. Any other questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
11P is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a subrecipient agreement with IAMS Nature Center for an amount not to exceed $108,890 to assist the city in combating the infestation of invasive species.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Vice Mayor Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. I just need to disclose that I'm a board member of IAMS, proudly so, but I do not receive any compensation, so I'll be supporting this. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
12A is an ordinance to amend the Knoxville City Code, Chapter 16, Article 13, to amend the amount of the hotel occupancy tax imposed by the city and to amend the permitted uses of the proceeds of such tax.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Council members, we have several people signed up to speak to this item. Where's that? Well, thank you. Okay. Before, well, I'll go ahead and call the people who signed up to speak. We first have Michelle Hummel from Downtown Knoxville Alliance. Ms. Hummel, if you could come to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Michelle Hummel, 17 Market Square, number 201. I will be brief, more importantly than anything for you guys, but I don't want to diminish how the importance of this amendment is. I'm speaking on behalf of Downtown Knoxville and Downtown Knoxville Alliance and its board. We've seen significant growth in downtown, as you have well witnessed, and hand in hand with that is an increase in the number of visitors coming downtown. They are visiting our restaurants, they're visiting our restaurants, they are purchasing items from our merchants, visiting our amenities, and going to the events in downtown. But more importantly, while downtown's here to support them, they truly support the merchants that we have in downtown. Without these tourism dollars and the tourism in downtown, our merchants couldn't make it just on sales alone without that. With that being said, we have some tourism-related facilities that need improvements. They are declining, and it's important that these assets be kept up to date in our currents. And this increase with the hotel motel tax and not allowing the tax to sunset is a great tool in the city's toolbox to help see some improvements on these tourism-related facilities. And we encourage approval of this amendment. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Next person signed up to speak in favor of this is Dave Feather. Is Mr. Feather present? If you could start by stating your name and address for the record, you'll have up to 5 minutes to address council.
Yes, thank you. My name is Dave Feather. I live at 9605 Marley Lane, Knoxville, Tennessee, 37922. Just want to speak really briefly about this. Obviously, time's running quick. I think this is an incredible opportunity to take an existing tax opportunity in order to reinvest in the Coliseum. Over the last several years, we've worked with the city, worked with the mayor in order to make sure that we're up and running. We had a missed opportunity last year where we had to postpone the game. Thankfully, you guys and the mayor were able to get us emergency financing in order to get the ice fort rebuilt. And I think this is a great opportunity for us to look at those tax dollars and reinvest it into the building so that doesn't happen for the future. So appreciate the time and the opportunity, and best of luck for us.
Thank you. Next person signed up to speak in favor of this item is Mike Murray.
Thank you. Mike Murray, 5709 Lions View Pike, condo unit 1112, 37919. I fully expect a Christmas card from you with that information. Yeah, I'm here to support this amendment as well. I'm a former professional hockey player myself. I came here for 20 games. I've been here over 30 years, and I'm currently the president, GM, and co-owner of the Knoxville Ice Bears. I'm very proud of that. Very proud to employ over 40 people that come to work every day at the Coliseum. We want to support this tax. Obviously, running a business in a 64-year-old building and just under 5,000 people. We probably had the worst year of our seasons last year on the ice, but we still managed to put, have 8 sellouts and average 4,200 people a game. So that's not without a lot of great help. Obviously, Dave's one of my key employees. Working with ASM and Misty Satterfield and Kim Bumpus and Mary Bogart back there. They make it fun to come to work every day, and they do all they can to help that building thrive. Again, a lot of people come there and make their living there. A lot of our hockey players are from all over the place, Canada and the U.S., and this is where they call Knoxville. They call Knoxville home for the 7 months that they're here, and their workplace is the Knoxville Civic Coliseum. So we fully support this, and thank you for doing this for us. It means a lot. I know there's a new shiny ballpark coming around. We're just around the corner, but we're going to be doing what we do, and we've done it for 23 years. We have local ownership, and we're very vested in this. As an owner myself, I work with the SPHL, the league, and we have a responsibility to put a team on the ice in Knoxville. There's 9 other teams in the league in the Southeast, and we have a responsibility to put on a good show and have a great place to play. So this is great news for us. We're very excited about it. Just going to take a poll here. How many people have been to an Ice Bear game? Thank you so much for your support. We couldn't do it without you. At the end of the day, I was a professional hockey player, but I'm not really in the hockey business. I'm in the entertainment business, and that's what we love to do. The wiener dog races, all the fun things that we do. We're very family friendly, and we're going to continue to do that. Like I said, we've been the Ice Bears for 23 years, and we want to be here for 23 more. So thank you very much, and we appreciate it very much on behalf of the ownership group, our season ticket holders, our staff, all of our fans. Can't thank you enough for taking this time to consider this building and what we do in it all season long. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Council members, as Mr. Murray just mentioned, both Mary Bogert from ASM Global and Kim Bumpus from Visit Knoxville are also here and supportive of this and available to answer any questions. I just want to emphasize that this is all about being good stewards. Good stewardship is a core value of our city, and we have a lot of facilities that are beautiful, but they're deteriorating, and it's our responsibility to address these deferred maintenance issues, and this proposal will go a long way towards doing that. Of course, the Knoxville Civic Auditorium and Coliseum, which are been around since the 60s and are beautiful, but need some maintenance. World's Fair Park, Volunteer Landing, and this modest increase would still keep us on par or below many of our peer cities. It would be the same level as the hotel motel tax rate at Chattanooga and less than other cities like Murfreesboro and Lenoir City. So we think this will be good for visitors, but also really good for residents because we all, as longtime residents here, use these facilities in and out every day. And it's also good for attracting and continuing to support our tourism economy. So I think Mr. Evans, our CFO, has provided a lot of information to all of you on this, and of course he's available to answer any more questions as you discuss this further. I think Councilmember Fugit was the first person to have her light on. Ms. Fugit.
Yes, thank you. I was just going to say I absolutely support this. I do think it's a good sign of good governance that this tax was set to sunset so that you have to talk about it again and determine if we didn't talk about it again, it would go away, and or if it stayed in perpetuity, who knows how the money would be used. I do think, as we've all discussed, I appreciate the Ice Bears, but there's also the Civic Auditorium piece where the ballet and the symphony and those people play, and the carpet's awful, the chairs need repair, and at some point, people quit coming if the facilities aren't up to snuff. Same thing with amphitheater. I believe I was here in college when it was built. The Tennessee Amphitheater, that's been a minute, and it needs repairs too. So I do think the worst thing that government or a business can do is defer maintenance to the point that facilities are no longer an asset. And so I support us extending the tax and using it in this restrictive way to only support tourism and civic infrastructure and not just in the general fund, because it will be paid by the people who are here to participate and enjoy those facilities. And so I think I fully support it.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Smith?
Thank you, Mayor. I support this for all the reasons Councilwoman Fugit said and some of the speakers tonight. We all cherish these public facilities or tourism-oriented infrastructure. It's my understanding that this allows us to invest these dollars only in tourism-related activities, and that includes both infrastructure and contract services. Is that right?
Mr. Evans, that's right, I believe.
It has to be for tourism or tourism development. pursuant to state law.
Okay, and that could be infrastructure or contract services, is that right?
It would depend on the contract services. I mean,
Yeah.
normally right now we're thinking infrastructure. I'd have to see what the contract was, but if it's sports tourism or tourism development, then it's good to go.
Yeah. Thank you. I would just offer that in addition to the infrastructure, we need to update that we also use this funding where possible to offset the cost of accessing those facilities. Not as necessarily the Ice Bears to discount their tickets for the community, but I am offering or asking that where the city has a role to control free access to public facilities, amenities, World's Fair site, these types of things, tourism-related parking, that may be out of bounds, but let's make sure we use this to make sure that as much as possible, people can access these places in an affordable or free way. So I know that those are not necessarily tied, but they are in the same realm of tourism, attracting people. We got to make sure that folks who are here can access things affordably as well. So just a plug for that.
Thank you. Council Member Helsley?
No, I'll turn my light off.
Oh, okay.
I was going to ask boys to, because everybody kept circling the wagon about what we were actually trying to do, but nobody really explained it. And I was going to ask him to do his 60-second thing, but he kind of covered it. But you could still do that.
Okay, so she does have a question. Mr. Evans?
60-second thing on exactly.
On the whole thing, because everybody's
Oh,
kind of
okay,
skirting
okay.
exactly what we're trying to do.
Oh, the
and
whole
nobody
thing,
really
yes, ma'am.
said what
Yeah,
was
no.
totally-
No, real quick, right now, there's an ordinance in place, levies a 3% occupancy tax on all hotels and motels within the city limits. And it's going to sunset as soon as the convention center is paid off. It'll be no more unless we do something. And the revenue right now per that ordinance can only be used for debt service payment on the convention center. And we're proposing to amend that ordinance this evening here on first reading so that, one, it gives us the flexibility not only to use it toward the convention center debt, but other tourism or tourism development related initiatives. By not having a sunset clause in that, it gets rid of that, and it raises it 1%. We go from 3% to 4%, which is commensurate with some of our peer cities. That equates to about an additional $2.2 million a year. And a key thing of note is, and that's generally paid by people who are tourists to the city of Knoxville, or coming here for business or whatever. But it's not it's not like it's a property tax or something on the citizens within the city. And that's pretty much it. It doesn't mean it doesn't mean we won't continue to use that money, at least in part, on the convention center debt. But if we have left over, we might be able to use it on things like deferred maintenance for, some of the facilities we've just been talking about, Coliseum, World's Fair Park, so forth.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Council Member McKenzie?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm really excited about this, and I think the timing is perfect as our city continues to grow in tourism, and University of Tennessee is a hot attraction. We have people coming here from everywhere, and people who are traveling to our city need somewhere to stay. And so I think that we have been lagging behind, I think, a little bit in those hotel motel taxes for a while. So this is very exciting, and to hear about the future uses of those dollars. So thank you guys for being creative and bringing this to us.
Thank you. Councilmember Ryder?
Yeah. Mr. Evans, I'm going to have you tell us the numbers versus me so I don't embarrass myself, but I think I did the math correctly. We haven't talked about that in real numbers. Let's just say it's a $250 a night hotel room. And granted, this is visitors paying this, but 3% of the 250, you want to do 200 to make it easy math?
Or 100.
Well, let's just do what I drew up. I looked at,
Okay.
because I figured that would come up in some manner. The average price of a hotel or motel stay within the city of Knoxville, average, is actually $117 a night. Now that's, when I say average, I mean your high-end
Sure.
hotels, your low-end hotels,
Yeah.
football games, middle of February, nothing going on, all that. It's $117 a night. And a 1% increase would just be $1.17.
Okay.
That's what the increase would be.
Okay, so a $250 a night hotel room is $2.50. That was my math.
That is
Okay.
correct.
Thanks.
That's what the increase would
Wanted
be.
you to make
That's
sure I was in the ballpark.
Yes.
Thanks.
Councilmember Roberta.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, this agenda item, I'm going to support. And it gave me an opportunity to kind of dig in on what's going on with tourism, which I thought was really important. So I had seen a story recently where CNN ranked Knoxville as the number 9 best town to visit, which I think is fantastic. So when I saw that, I thought that was really something, having been a lifelong resident here in Knoxville. But then I started to pay attention to what tourism actually does in our community. So tourism in our community provides $2 billion in economic impact. We're actually the 4th best economic impact in the state for that, for our community, which is amazing. And that employs 14,000 people here locally and brings in $75 million in local revenue. So this is unbelievable what goes on with tourism here. But if we're going to keep that, right, with all this talk about maintenance, we have these great facilities that, you know, we've all used and have great experiences with, but if we don't keep the infrastructure up, we're not going to keep that revenue coming in and those folks employed and all these good things that are happening. So I see this as a really good opportunity to make sure we're maintaining what we have and having a future that can continue to see that same growth. So I'm very supportive of this, so I think this is a great plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
12B is an ordinance amending Chapter 2, Article 7, Division 4, Section 2-767 of the Knoxville City Code to update the retention schedule for building and construction records.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
12C is an ordinance approving the request of Knoxville Habitat for Humanity for an amendment to the East City Sector Plan from civic and institutional to medium-density residential for property located at 4325 Pinehurst Drive, 4th District.
I'd like to make a motion to consolidate items 12C, D, and E as they're on the same parcel.
Okay, motion's been made to consolidate items 12C, D, and E into one item for your discussion and consideration. It's been made and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of this consolidation, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion to consolidate carries. We do have someone who signed up to speak in opposition to these 3 items. Mr. James French, are you present? Okay, Mr. French, if you could come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and you'll have up to 5 minutes to address council.
My name's James French. I represent Pinehurst Drive subdivision, and I'd like to buy, excuse me, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'd like to pass these papers around so you see what some of our complaints are.
Mr. Johnson, the city recorder, will come get them right now and share them with council.
It's just a summary of what we were talking about. The residents of the undersigned community strongly oppose the expansion of Pinehurst Drive. This plan develops seriously concerns our environment, our impact, our the strain, safety, and our quality of life. We are urging the local officers, Planning Commission, to reconsider this organization. We received at Pinehurst expand will build on a single network community to our neighborhood. The expanded plan is currently proposed will not, and the addition of the new homes and single-tier vehicle traffic in our area creates danger, road condition, and expands commuter time. The expansion of road of community is already and will not be able to support the additional traffic we're going to have. And the development of this upon the green space and everything that's out there, we just get more traffic than what we can handle. The road signs out there are not clear, and the blacktop's got to be replaced out there, and they put these big trucks out there. We're not going to have room to do what we want to do. I mean, Pinehurst is just a single circle in there is all it is. And when they put this, what they're trying to build out there and everything, all it's going to do is make more traffic, and they won't even talk to us about what they're going to do with the church or nothing else, the people from Habitat. We've asked for a meeting. They won't even come meet with us. And I'd like for you to look at what's going on out there and look at Pinehurst Drive and see that we don't need this out there, more traffic on that road. I mean, everything out there is completely, even down on Shepherd, I've got people signed on, I've got 25 or 26 people who signed a petition for us not to have this out there. And I'd like for it to be stopped now if we could get it done. I don't know what we need, but everybody out there in that neighborhood or that subdivision is completely against it. There's nobody for it. And Habitat won't even talk to us about what they're going to do about the church or nothing else. And we'd like to find out some answers about this. And I mean, the traffic, I mean, the road out there, you come look at it. I live at 4418 Pinehurst, and you drive right there in front of my mailbox, and you'll see where the road's done broke apart already. It started caving in. And I've got 2 or 3 neighbors with me tonight up here. I've got a petition, if you want to see it, that the people signed it. And they're right on Chevron, where you go out the other way. They've got no room for traffic down through there. It's not wide enough. So we'd like to see, or somebody tell us what they're going to do with the church. And what they sent us a letter saying that they were going to build 12 down behind the church, just 12 houses. But now I found out they're trying to build townhouses down there. And that's just too much traffic for the street that's out there. It's a one-way street. You turn off Washington Pike to the right. It makes a circle and comes around on my side of the street. And Habitat sent one letter to us out there. You got a copy of it up there, telling us what's going on. If you look on the back of it, it says 12. It don't say 24. And that's what we're opposing for out there. I mean, the signs need to be put up out there. We got a bunch of speeders. I talked to one of the policemen the other day at my house.
Mr. French,
and he said they didn't have enough people to take care of sitting out there waiting on somebody to come through.
Thank you, Mr. French. That concludes your 5 minutes.
And get something where the roads, people can't come down through there flying.
Mr. French, thank you very much. Your time, your 5 minutes is up.
Thank you.
Okay, if council members have questions, they can ask you to come back to the podium to answer them. Thank you. Okay. Council members, that concludes the people who signed up to speak to these agenda items. Councilmember Ryder.
Yeah, so first off, Mr. French, can you hear me? I just want to make sure you can hear me. You don't need to come back to the podium, Mr. French. I just want to let you know, I tried to call you this afternoon with some answers to some of your questions, so we'll get into that here. But I didn't catch you probably before you were on the way down here So I will make sure that we get all the information and answers to your questions, okay? Okay. I might ask Mr. Terry, so Mr. French, for my colleagues here and for others, Mr. French did reach out to me a couple of times over the past month since this was heard at the Planning Commission, and I have apologized to him that I didn't get back to him in a timely fashion because I was on medical leave and doing other things, and so I was behind in that. I did not have any information and answers for Mr. French until I was able to get that from Mr. Terry. So Mr. Terry, I don't know, you're Mr. Terry, right? Okay. Do you have diagrams or anything that council could look at to see the concept plan or anything? I know you emailed those to me. If you have anything, could we get Mr. Johnson to grab that and pass out? Okay. Yeah.
Well, Mr. Terry, if you could come to the podium. You're on the list as available to answer questions. So apparently there's some questions. So please come to the podium and answer the questions that Ms. Ryder has, and please identify yourself.
Yeah.
Mr. Johnson will come get those and distribute those for you.
Okay. So Mr. Terry, hopefully Mr. Johnson can get those out to everyone. So the things that I learned about this today, I think specifically to answer some of Mr. French's questions, could you speak to what the concept plan is with the church? Like the church is to remain? I'll let you have the floor.
Sure. Bill Terry, 1501 Washington Avenue, Knoxville 37920. I am employed by Knoxville Habitat for Humanity, and the plan is to keep the church, and we have a pastor that wants the church. Until we can get a permit, we can't build them a parking lot. So nothing can go forward until we get a building permit to build out the whole development. But it's zoned, it's a zoned office right now. And we could go pull a permit tomorrow for 24 units. We're not upping density or anything. The only reason that we're changing to RN4, it's building setbacks. So it is, we're not building any more density than is already allowed. We did send out letters probably a little over a week before the Knox planning meeting with, I think he passed out the letters. And I had 2 calls that I returned, one from Mr. French and one from a lady that lives in the condominiums adjoining our property. And the zoning that we're requesting is similar to the condos next to us, but it is 12 double units, 2-story double units, and they won't be rentals. They will be for sale for low income.
So these will be owner occupied?
Yes.
Okay. And they'll be built in stages, not all at once?
Correct.
And the church right now does not have a parking lot? They're just parking on like grass and other areas?
Well, the church is not active right now. The building is empty.
How long has it been empty, do you know?
It was empty when we purchased the property.
3 years, according to the neighbors? Okay. Prior to that, it was in use?
Whoever's speaking needs to come to the
Yeah.
podium, please, and identify
Sorry.
yourself for the record.
Slightly off topic, but I brought it up, so we'll go ahead and, no, this is the church. Apartments across from Home Depot. Yes, sir. What?
Yes, my name is William Franklin. I live
Yes,
at
sir.
44 Pinehurst Drive.
Yes, sir.
It was a small church.
Yes.
They might have had 15 or 20 members. It hadn't been occupied, I know, for 3 years.
Okay. But at some point it was.
At some point it was. But like I say, when it was, they might have been 5 cars in the parking lot.
Okay, okay.
It was a small.
But
it
they
was a
didn't
small
have a
church.
parking lot.
Ma'am?
They don't have a parking lot.
Yes, they do.
Not like a paved lot.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, they do.
Okay. Okay, my time's going to get cut off, so my colleagues will probably ask questions. Real quickly before my time runs out, I will come back after Councilwoman McKenzie and ask Mr. Claybo some questions. The concerns that Mr. French brought up with me today are that they had not heard from the applicant, and I got the details from Mr. Terry that everyone within 300 feet in a circular radius had gotten the letter. I got a copy of the letter that they had received per the direction of the Planning Commission, because that is very important to us as a council. The part that the church is going to remain as a buffer between the housing and the additional housing as well. The other thing I'd like to point out to my colleagues, as the office zoning on the parcel that Habitat has purchased, which is approximately 4 acres, is the same as the homes that adjoin it as well. And the homes are also zoned sector plan medium density residential. So the zoning, I could ask Ms. Brooks to answer these questions, but they will be compatible, and they have been compatible with the new request to what the neighboring houses are. I'll
Thank you, Ms. Ryder. Councilmember McKenzie.
Thank you, Mayor. And so, for the gentleman standing there.
Yes.
And the gentleman that spoke earlier, and I'm so sorry, I can't remember your last name.
Mr. French.
Were you all able to get in touch with, I'm reading the letter that was sent, were you all able to get in touch with the contact person at Habitat to talk through your concerns?
Ma'am, I have tried the numbers that they have given me. In fact, one of the numbers they had given me, I've tried it, and they said it had been disconnected.
Okay.
I tried to get a hold of the lady that I was talking to, and she never returned my call. And I understand why now, because Mr. French told me. I understand that. What our concern is about here, as you can see on the back of the papers he give you, is the roads out there. I mean, you're talking whatever 10-foot wide roads. And the only way you're going to be able to get into what his proposal is from Pinehurst or Shelburne. It's the only way. And these roads will not handle. They will not handle the traffic, especially, I don't know how big a church that they propose or how many members is coming into that church are going to be there, but as you can see, the roads will not handle it.
Okay, so sir, are you saying that these roads are really, can 2 cars pass each other at the same time on
No,
these
ma'am.
roads?
It's one way in and one way out. It's a cul-de-sac. And the church sits basically around the curb. It's on the back. I don't know if you got one of the copies or not.
Yeah,
It's
so
on the
nothing-
back, very
nothing-
back.
Nothing printed on the back, unfortunately, but we
Okay,
do have a.
there's one paper I think that he should have given you that's it's got the diagram of the roads.
Yeah, it didn't get included in my packet, but Mr. Terry did provide us with that. Okay.
one way in, one way out.
And so, did you mention that there was another road? Yeah, I see that. But is this the only way to get into,
It's Shelburne.
where is Sheldon?
It comes this way, near Ronnie Collins' house, to this direction.
Yeah, when you're coming,
If you Google the address, you can see a map.
Okay.
when you're coming out of his proposal there at the church, when you're coming out, you turn to the right, which takes you down Shelburne.
Okay.
Or you can also, when you turn to the right, that's the only way you can go back out, is down Pinehurst. And it's a single road going down that way.
So based on what you're saying is that there's only the one entrance in and the one way out. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
But you were talking about if it was double lane. It's not double lane, it's single lane.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Terry, and are these going to be 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms? Could you talk a little bit more?
Right now, they're proposed to be all 3-bedroom units.
So all 12 would be 3-bedroom units?
Okay, so it'd be a total of 24,
24, okay.
but 12 double townhouses.
Okay, because I'm only seeing, there's 2 units attached to each building. Okay, got it now. Okay, I'm tired. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Smith?
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Portier, I just have some questions about what Mr. Terry said, just to validate what he said around the capacity and how many units could be there for office versus this new zoning. Can you compare those two?
Sure. So the two zones allow very similar uses. When you get in the difference between office and RN4, it's mainly the number of units you can have before you need a special use. So for RN4, for example, if you have townhouses, you can do up to 8 units and just have that approved administratively by staff. Once you go 9 or above, then you need special use approval. The difference between the zones, otherwise, office tends to be a little bit more intensive than RN4. Regarding the setbacks, he mentioned.
Can you say the last part again about the office being more intensive than RN4?
For the most part, in general, it allows uses that are slightly more intensive than RN4 does.
Okay.
Any of the dwelling uses are allowed by right in office and only as a special use, or in some cases are permitted by right in other cases, again, due to the number of units in RN4.
So both by density and use, office is more, less restrictive than RN4.
So the city's zoning ordinance doesn't really get into density as a function of dwelling units per acre, but it does just by number of units and how it's allowed as a special use or permitted use, then yes.
Okay. But you said 8 units, I think is what you said, is permitted?
By right.
Yeah.
And once you hit 9 units, then it requires a special use
Right.
in
And this
R4.
is 12?
So it would require a special use if it
okay.
was RN4.
But in office, if it remained office, you could still build this type of development?
You could. The difference there is with the setbacks.
Thank you.
Councilmember Thomas?
Yes. I'm concerned that the parties haven't met, and I think we could all benefit if there had been a discussion previous. Mr. Terry, could I call you up just for a second here, just on that particular question? Sounds like that the parties reached out. They were unable to, for some reason, get in touch with you, and I don't really want to sort out why you haven't met or who didn't get in touch with anybody, but it appears to me that this might be a situation where it would be beneficial if the parties met. There's 20-something neighbors, I think, that have signed a petition. Would that be something that you would be willing to do? And just to cut to the bottom line, I'm going to have a hard time voting on this until I feel that, as is often the case, the parties have met, and sometimes they resolve things, and we don't have to kind of decide things on the fly here, and a lot of information is coming in. So would you be willing to meet with the parties beforehand?
Well, I did, when I returned the calls, nobody wanted to meet with me. I mean, they may have met on the letter, they may have tried to reach out to that contact. I'm not sure, but I never heard anything about any meeting, but we can, I guess, if that's what you'd like to do.
Well, I'm wondering if this might be a situation where we maybe should just postpone it for a couple of weeks and at least get the parties a chance to talk. It would be very helpful, at least to me, to be able to decide how to approach this.
I mean, that's a possibility. I have a couple more questions. Councilman Thomas, you have 3 more minutes. I don't want to.
No, I'm finished, and I'm not making the motion. I'm just throwing it out to all my colleagues if that might be a possibility that might help us. And underline, like I said, I'm going to have a hard time voting either way on this, I think, until I'm satisfied that the parties have at least, discussed this and maybe narrowed down the issues for us before they come back. So.
Thank you. Councilmember Helsley.
I just wanted to point out that on the community engagement piece that was added by Director Brooks to encourage developers to talk to the community, whoever at Habitat checked, have you engaged the surrounding property owners? And they said no, but I plan to prior to the Planning Commission meeting, I think that probably needs to happen to his point, and probably could work something out. You never know.
Thank you. Councilmember Ryder?
Yeah, so to answer, that was my question, and I let Mr. Terry know that particular box checking and those statements were added at the request of council because that was very important to us because there had been past agenda items where there had been no communique with surrounding neighbors. Mr. Terry sent me the copy of the letter, and there were neighbors that went on and there was no opposition. They were sent out in advance. There's no date on the letter. You said they were sent out in advance.
About 10 days before the planning
Okay.
commission meeting.
And there are people who, the only response to the planning commission was support for the project. And I have gotten calls of support from neighbors that live off of Shelburne. So there is not unified opposition to the project. There's also neighborhood support for the project. Mr. Claybo, could I call upon you? And if you can't answer my questions tonight, so I have a couple of colleagues suggesting that we postpone. Regardless, if it gets voted on tonight and we're to pass, we still have a second reading. The neighbors have brought up some concerns about paving and potholes there on Pinehurst. Is it possible for us to find out when that is scheduled to get paved again? Maybe not in this moment. Is it possible?
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
I don't know
Within
that
the next
right now,
weekish?
but we could find that out, yeah.
Okay, if we could get some information about the paving, and I don't know if you're looking at a map of that road, I am, but Pinehurst is a divided, like a boulevard, much like Sequoia Hills, okay? Even though it's not like Sequoia Hills, don't look at me like I'm crazy, Debbie. It is, and I've looked, this is actually city property there in between. It's one way, going one way, and there's some cut-throughs in between, and then it goes the other way. So like Sequoia Hills, you've got a divided boulevard where you come in one way and you go out the other way, but then it also connects with this other. So for anybody who's been to that Home Depot, sometimes, particularly if you're the district rep, if you're just passing through, maybe you don't do this. I do sometimes go through you guys' neighborhood when I'm leaving that area, because for a while there was a blighted property there on Shelburne and codes. We were having conversations about it, so I would take the joyous route and cruise through there after leaving the Lowe's, the Home Depot, or the Target. So I've not had a problem navigating through there. It's not one way in, one way out. It's a divided boulevard. So I just wanted to be clear, and I certainly invite my colleagues to go out and look at that. Ms. Portier, sorry, and I called you Ms. Brooks earlier because I can't see you, so I don't know who's down there. I made assumptions. I think I'm on strike 2 for this meeting. Can you compare what the zoning, you've already answered Councilman Thomas's or Vice Mayor Thomas's question. Going from office to RN4, would that be a down zone in some regard? Yes or no, I guess.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, there are some uses that RN4 allows that the office doesn't, but for the most part, office allows slightly more intensive versions of things than RN4.
And the zoning that we have before us tonight does not change whether the church is able to be there or be used.
Correct.
Okay. To the neighbor's concern about whether the church in the future is larger or smaller, when Mr. Terry and you guys are going to are you continuing ownership of the church property as well?
No, we don't plan on owning it.
So you're going to sell the church to the congregation that wants it?
That's correct.
Okay. So if they were to expand or anything, they would have to get permits. They would be doing that.
Yeah, I don't think they could expand unless they went up, but.
Right, but that would determine parking and so in terms of the concern of whether the church, because it's a small church. Do you know how large the building is?
I don't know how many square feet. It's got a full basement in it where they,
Okay.
I guess they had activities and stuff, so.
Okay, all right. Okay, so this is what I'll say to my colleagues. There's support and there's opposition. There are folks that have come here tonight in opposition. I do not think this is an extreme amount of density. Mr. Terry, how many times did you talk to the neighbors? Because you did talk to these gentlemen.
I talked to Mr. French and a woman that lives over in the condos. She just wanted to know why we were changing zoning, but that's the only 2 people that contacted me or, as I know, contacted the office.
Okay. And I've just heard from the two that are in support, as well as Mr. French and Mr. Franklin. So I'm inclined to support this. And we have a first reading and a second reading, and I'm certainly happy to answer more of their questions and get some of the road concerns are engineering specific, they're not project specific, and get Mr. Claybo and his team to answer some of those questions about road conditions.
We would be glad to meet with them within the next 2 weeks before the next meeting.
Okay. Going back to, actually, Councilmember Roberto, and then Mr. Thomas.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Terry, I had a couple questions. So my concerns are the same as with Councilmember Helsley as well as Councilmember Thomas about the not having a meeting. And what I would encourage you to do in the future, as well as to deal with this, depending on how this vote goes, is definitely have a meeting with the neighbors before you come. I mean, you sent a letter, which I think is great. It doesn't have a date on it, so I don't know when you sent it. And the other issue I have with the letter is that you've got two different phone numbers for Charlie Howard in the body of the text as well as at the bottom. And so one of the questions I heard from Mr. French was that he called these numbers and he couldn't get through to anybody. And it looks like Mr. Franklin's saying something similar to that. So my question to you is 865-357-2078 a number that works to contact somebody at Habitat?
I believe that is his office number, okay. And then the number at the bottom is just the general number to Habitat.
Okay.
And we work on it. There's not an active, that I know of, a neighborhood association. I believe some of our people try to reach out to see if there's a active association, and they couldn't find one.
Well, and you know, not all neighborhoods are going to have an active neighborhood association. And, you know, what you're doing is incredibly important work. So I don't want you to take this the wrong way, but it's also very important for council. We've talked about this many times here, is about making sure that we go and meet with our new neighbors. And, you know, you say in the letter, hello, potential neighbor, you know, we want you to make sure you're contacting folks. So you may run into a space where you don't have an active neighborhood association, but maybe set something up, like you have the church building. Hey, we're going to meet at the church building on 7 o'clock on whatever night. Come down and we'll tell you what's going on. And then you've had some way of having a meeting with folks. So, you know, I'm very supportive of what you're doing. I think it's a critical thing that we need to make sure we have housing. But I also think from a process standpoint, what folks are talking about with you is also, hey, make sure we're trying to reach out to folks. So, I mean, I don't know whether that's a working number or not, but what I was hearing from Mr. French was that these numbers don't work or they're disconnected in some way. So I just wanted to check with you and make sure that those are active numbers that you were sending out to them in this letter, and would encourage you to definitely have a meeting before the next reading and to make sure you try to do that in the future.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilmember Thomas?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with what my colleague says. And I guess just to cut to the chase as far as where I am right now, this is first reading. I don't feel comfortable making a yes or no vote on it. I will abstain on first reading. Between now and then, I really want to see a meeting take place, and then I'll make my decision on a yes or no at the second meeting. But I absolutely don't feel comfortable voting either way without this meeting. And again, that's what we're really trying to encourage, and the planning staff now has that as part of their policy, and we want to kind of double down on that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Ryder?
Yeah, Mr. Terry, as well as Mr. Franklin and Mr. French, would you all be available to meet next week?
If you could come to the podium.
Yeah, we
if
can't
you want to
hear,
speak. Mr.
and neither
Franklin?
can the viewing public at home. You have no idea. You have fans at home.
Okay, I'm sorry. We do have an Aliceville Spring Hill community that
Are you talking about the meeting that Mr. Collins?
They will meet next Monday, it's my understanding, at Aliceville Church.
You talking about Mr. Collins' meeting?
Yes,
Ronnie
yes,
Collins'
ma'am.
meeting?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And I have tried to get in touch with Mr. Collins about this.
Yeah,
He will not return my calls.
okay.
I've
So
called numerous times.
I will work with you all to get the meeting scheduled next week, whether it be Monday or Tuesday, and we can.
I know they meet the third Monday of each month,
Sure.
which would be next Monday.
If for some reason they're not meeting, if for some reason they're skipping or something, we'll have our own meeting and make that happen. So for the comfort of everybody, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to postpone. For 2 weeks, I'm so sorry. Yes. Mr. Terry, you were going to have to come back in 2 weeks anyway for second reading, so we'll be here again in 2 weeks, and we'll be talking tomorrow. I won't make you stay any later tonight, and we'll iron out a meeting time.
Thank you.
Okay. So we have.
Okay,
well,
there's a motion on the floor to postpone. Is there a second on this motion to postpone for 2 weeks? Motion to postpone for 2 weeks has been made and seconded. Any further questions or discussion? Yes, this is items C, D, and E, postponing all three of them collectively for 2 weeks. Seeing no further questions, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion to postpone carries. Moving on. 12F.
12F is an ordinance approving the request of Cherokee Country Club for an amendment to the West City Sector Plan from medium-density residential office, low-density residential, and mixed-use special district Bearden Village to other open space for a portion of property located at 5331 Lions View Pike, leaving all special purpose, or rather any special purpose land use classifications unchanged. Second district.
Move to approve.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Councilmember Roberto.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to combine items F, G, and H since they're all the same property.
Okay, motion made to combine items F, G, and H into one item has been made and seconded. Any questions or discussion on the motion to consolidate? Seeing none. Oh, Councilmember Roberto.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. Seeing none, all those in favor of this consolidation, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion to consolidate passes. Councilman Roberto, did you want to?
Thank you, Mayor. With the combined F, G, and H, I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Okay, motion made to approve and has been seconded. Any further questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
12L is an ordinance to change the base zoning classification of property located at 1524 Riverside Road from RN1 district to RN2 district, leaving all special purpose and overlay districts unchanged. Hilo Design and Development applicant 6th district.
Move to approve.
Okay, motion's been made to approve and seconded. There's one person signed up to speak in favor of this item, Savannah Reyes-Dixon. Ms. Reyes-Dixon, if you could come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and you'll have up to 5 minutes to address council.
Hi, my name is Savannah Reyes-Dixon, 133 South Gay Street, Knoxville, Tennessee. I am representing HAO, which is the design firm that was hired by the client to rezone this. Because of the growing area and the access to public amenities, there's lots of schools and churches and access to downtown. We believe that rezoning from RN1 to RN2 would allow for a very modest upgrade to have a little bit of extra density without, changing the whole sector. RN2 is a pretty typical upgrade from RN1, so we believe that this aligns with the city and the county's goals for growing housing and residential concerns.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Do you have anything else to say?
For right now, no, unless there's any
Okay.
questions.
She's available for questions if council has questions. Thank you. So council, any further questions or discussion on item 12L? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And now we'll move to public forum. First, we have two people signed up for public forum. First is Chris Patterson, Knoxville Fire Department, retired Knoxville firefighter. Mr. Patterson, if you could come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and you'll have up to 5 minutes to address council.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor, City Council. Thank you to all the firefighters. I'm sorry, Chris Patterson, 197 Grandview Drive, Mandeville, Tennessee, 37807. Thank you to all the firefighters and civilians that showed up here to support me tonight. My name is Chris Patterson. I was a firefighter for the city of Knoxville for 20 years. I broke my back in December 23rd, 2022, making a rescue. I now have 2 rods and 10 screws in my back. I cannot get a spinal cord stimulator that I need. I stand here and shake, and we hear about good stewards. We hear about the fires where people don't want to get hurt. You don't want people getting hurt. You have a hurt fireman right here. Right here. 22 days I've been asking for this, actually since June. But it's been 22 days. That's sad. A fireman gave himself serving the citizens and you, and I can't get help. I don't know what else to do. Captain Mark Lacey retired from a heart attack. I'm sure people are aware of this. He had days left on his battery. Sedgwick would not approve it. They had to send it for review. If I don't get what I need, I'm in pain. If he doesn't get what he needs, he's dead. Another firefighter, Sedgwick could not find any of the paperwork that showed where he got hurt or that he had an agreement with the city. Luckily for them, he had the paperwork. All of a sudden, they found it. Now I'm trying to let myself believe that none of you are aware of what Sedgwick is doing. But now you are. And I'm not going to stand by as city firefighter, retired one, and be treated like this. And I don't expect my brothers and sisters either. Do any citizens in this room, do you expect me and the firefighters here to give 100% when they show up to your house? Because I did. Now I'm standing here hurting. A little bit of just a spinal cord stimulator would help. It's $100,000. I hear about $700,000 going to parks. And here I stand here shaking in pain. I can't take it anymore. I'm reaching out to you, and I'm reaching out to the people. I'm going to yield the rest of my time for y'all to think about what we as city employees need to be treated like. Because Sedgwick is not doing it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Council members, I know public forum is not the time to debate things, and we all heard from Mr. Patterson. I did want to let you all know that this claim process is going through the process, and he has a lawyer, and our law department's working with his counsel, and we're trying to make the process go as smoothly as possible. So
I still have a
wanted
little
to
bit of
let you
time
know.
remaining, right, Ms. Mayor? I still have a minute 35 remaining. I still have time
Okay.
remaining.
Okay, go ahead.
I got a phone call yesterday. You're right, they are moving on it. When they found out I was speaking, they started moving on it. My doctor called me yesterday to finish the report 21 days after the fact, and I already had a report done. But Sedgwick would not accept it. The doctor ordered one, and Sedgwick would not accept the report. It made me wait longer.
Mr. Patterson?
That's the truth. Yes, ma'am.
Can you just tell us what Sedgwick is? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, yes,
it's our
ma'am. Sedgwick
claim-
is a
workman's
third-party
comp.
company that City of Knoxville hired
Yeah.
to process the workman's comp claims. They also kicked me out of the hospital 4 days out of intensive care, and the mayor was there for that. I was kicked out of the hospital out of intensive care after back surgery and smoke inhalation after 4 days. I have a voicemail from my case manager that said after 8 weeks, I was ready to go back to work. I have rods in my back and screws and 2 cuts to my spinal cord, and they said after 8 weeks, I was ready to go back to work. Does that sound like a company that takes care of your employees? I'm asking, does it? Because it doesn't to me. It doesn't to my brothers and sisters out here. It doesn't to the police officers, and it doesn't to the city services. We're better than this, like I said. I'm not a politician. I'm just up here speaking. Thank you for your time.
Okay. The next person signed up to speak at public forum is Vivian Shipe. Ms. Shipe, are you present?
Mayor, she actually texted me and said she was not going to be able to
Okay.
be here this evening. Thank you.
Okay, council members, that concludes public forum, and without objection, this meeting is adjourned.